So I'm going to go ahead and just welcome everybody, if I may, and then Kim, I'll turn it over to you. So I know many of you online. My name is Mona Raglow. I'm the Director of Member Experience and Programming at Central Exchange. So I want to welcome you to our Zoom meeting today. And I'm so excited to introduce Kim Beer to you. So Kim has been very instrumental in helping the CX team get up and going on our technology. She's much more of an expert on this than most people that I run into, and she volunteered her time to host this webinar. So today we're going to learn a little about different meeting platforms, whether it's Zoom, GoToMeeting, different ones, so that you as a user can decide what would be best for you. It's going to be very interactive. Kim's going to open it up to questions. We've got 11 people already chatting online. So without further ado, Kim, again, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to mute myself and let you take it over.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So, so let's get started. Digital Office Bootcamp. And we're going to talk about how to make your home office your professional office and how to get really up and going with technology. And we're going to discuss some really good best practices around being able to use this technology effectively and just making it part of our world, because I see that being a lasting effect of the current situation that we're in. So I see we're probably going to be doing this long term. So my name is Kimberly Beer. I'm the creative adventurer and entrepreneurial strategist at Be More Business. My corporate name is Midnight Productions Incorporated. And you can find me here. I'm a member of a whole lot of different places across the city as well as across the US. And I've been speaking on marketing and marketing practices for small businesses now for about 8 years. And I dearly love it. It's like one of my favorite things to do is to help small business owners get better at whatever it is that's challenging them in the moment. And right now, for a lot of us, that's learning how to communicate better in a digital way and work remotely versus being able to work straight up. I do live on a farm, so a rooster just crowed out my window. You probably, I don't know if the microphone will pick him up, but I have some geese out there as well. So you may have some weird honking noises going on during our webinar because I have yet to convince them. They have to all be quiet while I'm doing this. So our goal today is that you leave this class with a sense of confidence around setting up your digital office, about being prepared with the right know-how to go out there and start conducting business and communicating online versus face-to-face, which is the current challenge that we're all facing. And some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, you're going to already know. And other things you're going to maybe not have heard of or be a little less familiar with. And so it's a good thing we're all on. So feel confident, check marks up if you already know what I'm talking about, but do hang in there because I'm probably going to cover a couple of things that might be new. So first of all, you have a lot of choices. I have your of mine who she does numerology readings, and she's so much fun to be around, and she always says choices, choices, choices. So in honor of Elizabeth, here are some choices for you. So you're already familiar with Zoom because you're all here on Zoom. So what Zoom is, it's a meeting and webinar platform. So in almost all of these meetings and webinars are going to be a little different. So I'm not going to explain what the difference is, but Zoom and Zoom's competitors, they're going to offer their offerings in a very similar way. So there's meetings and there's webinars, and you're going to pay for those separately. In the case of Zoom, you can have a free account. The free account gives you quite a bit of latitude, actually. You can do pretty well unlimited, not really time ending like the time limited 1-to-1 meetings or 1-to-2, so up to 3 people. Once you get more than 3 people in the meeting, the free version is going to limit you to 40 minutes to stay in that meeting, and it's going to kick you out and make you start a new session. So that's their way of saying, here's a free option. But if you want to host meetings that are an hour long, which let's face it, most of us end up having hour-long meetings, then they want you to pay. And that's only fair. They have to make a living to keep providing us with this tool. And the base meeting feature is only $15 a month if you pay by the month, and it drops down to 12 something if you pay an entire year at a time. So it's actually really affordable. And that does unlock a lot of features. It unlocks for you the ability for you to have multiple co-hosts. You can have meetings that last up to 24 hours, which I've done a 3-hour meeting webinar where it was just me for 3 hours. And I can tell you, if you can hold that for 24, you're a better one than I, because it's 3 hours isn't a long time to just talk to a green dot on a screen. So it does also open up a lot of other options for breakout rooms and registrations and list building and some other pieces as well for meetings. And then if you want to add the webinar option, that's an additional $40 a month. Zoom has some very good pros to it. I've been a long time GoToMeeting user, and COVID-19 has definitely convinced me that Zoom is a superior platform to GoToMeeting for these kind of meetings and classes. I much prefer it. It's been more stable through this crisis. It has definitely offered me the ability to do a lot more things than I could on my GoToMeeting account. So I've switched everything over to Zoom. So easy to use, lots of customization, easy screen sharing options. And to date, I have not found a downside to Zoom. So if you are searching for a platform and you want something that's easy to use, it would definitely be my choice and my preference for most businesses. GoToMeeting is obviously a competitor. They also offer similar functions. They have meetings and webinars. They have the same kind of thing, a private meeting room, then meetings you can invite people to. And they start at between $12 and $16 a month. There's a couple of different features that you get for a little bit more money. And then you can add webinars for $20 a month for up to 100 attendees in the webinar. The upside to GoToMeeting is they've been at this game for a really long time, and their webinar platform is incredibly fully featured. And there are some things that I have in GoToWebinar in specifics that I'm probably going to stay on that platform for my webinars for a while before I switch completely over to Zoom. The pros with GoToMeeting are that they are feature rich, and honestly, the video is clearer. And that has to do with bandwidth, which is probably why I was struggling with it at the beginning of everybody working from home. I've done this type of meeting format for about 5 years now. I live an hour from Kansas City, and I have clients all over the world, as a matter of fact. So I do this visual or the remote meetings with my clients and have been for a really long time. And GoToMeeting, honestly, when I started out, was the only choice I had. And that's where I ended up going first. So Zoom, the video isn't as sharp or as big as it is on GoToMeeting, but that absorbs more bandwidth. And when everybody started meeting online, it kind of clogged up all of these systems. And so GoToMeeting, I think, has lagged behind in getting caught up with that. So it has been struggling to maintain some connections, but the video is beautiful and clear. Zoom does have an HD feature. So if you want to be able to use a higher quality video with Zoom, you certainly can do so. But I recommend that for right now, at least, that you keep it on the standard resolution if you see that option, because even though the video may look better, We are all taxing the system right at the moment. So when it sort of calms down a little bit, it might be a good idea to switch. But for now, I'd keep as little energy on the internet as possible because it's really sucking down a lot of a lot of our resources online. So I mentioned both webinars and meetings, and I want to talk about what the difference is between the two of them. So webinars are one to a lot of people, but the people aren't participating in the actual event. They listen, they attend, but they're not necessarily interacting with the host on a regular basis. So it's really good for presentations or classes where the participants need to listen and get the information, but where they don't need to interact with the host. About the only way on Zoom that you can interact with a host in a webinar is through chat, which is great. But I will tell you from experience of doing webinars for going on 10 years now, people don't chat. There's very few people that will actually comment in to a webinar string. And as a host, you have to pull on people to do that. You noticed I asked a question when we very first started this, and we had great amount of participation right there at the beginning, but you'll also notice that kind of drop off now that we've gotten the webinar started. So it's just being really quiet on the chat. Now, users can chat back and forth with each other privately. They can chat with the host. They can chat with everyone. They can chat with, specific groups if they're in their specific group. But webinars are really meant to be, I'm going to give you a lot of information, but you're not going to be able to communicate back with me as the instructor or the host. It's very limited. Meetings, on the other hand, are one-to-one or one to a few. So it becomes really awkward if you try to do a meeting with 50 or 100 people who are able to contribute to the conversation. People unmute themselves, it gets loud, it gets really hard to sort through the pictures. You can only see so many video streams at one time, so it becomes super complicated. That means that for meetings, when you're going to have a lot of that participation, that's great, but keep it in the meeting format and keep fewer attendees. If you're going to have a lot of attendees, then a webinar would be a better choice. Meetings are good for business meetings, obviously, coaching sessions, interactive sessions, consulting sessions, interactive classes, or any event where the host wants to be able to interact with the in the meeting. Now, I think anytime you get over probably 50 to 75 people on a meeting, then if you're getting that routinely, you might want to think about switching to a webinar and limiting the number of people that are participating. Both Zoom and GoToMeeting allow you to select certain people as participants versus attendees. Zoom has a limit of 100. I'm not sure where the limit is for GoToMeeting, but I'm probably around that same number. So if you have 500 or 600 people coming to an online event, you could have 100 people that are participating, but the rest of the people would need to be in an attendee mode. And it does cut down on a lot of the confusion with being able to communicate to people. There are some ways you can do this online meeting stuff besides those big two, which are what everybody's talking about right now, which is GoToMeeting and Zoom. Skype offers a video meeting service that you can use. And I've used Skype for years with my international clients to give them a way to call me and for me to be able to call them, because Skype makes international phone calls affordable. And I do have clients in Canada, I have clients in England, I have clients in Singapore, I have some in Australia. So being able to have a way to call them affordably, and then also to set up a number that they can call me affordably. But you can do video on Skype. So you can have these same types of video meetings on Skype that you would have on GoToMeeting or on Zoom. So pros are, its recording is available. It's very international. It's very internationally accepted. When you talk to somebody in a different country and you say, I'm going to give you my Skype handle, generally they know what you're talking about. So that helps. The cons are, is it does have some limitations to the number of people who can be on a meeting. And it does take a little bit more know-how as the host to be able to pull off Skype. GoToMeeting and Zoom seem much easier to me to set up, to invite people to. Skype in many ways, unless you know how to do it, people have to be a member of Skype in order to call you or interact with you. So there has to be some agreement there. There are ways around that, but they're complicated. So if you're just now getting into being able to do digital and remote officing, it probably isn't the best choice on the list. There's another free option. There's free and paid versions of this, by the way, and that's Google Hangouts. And you're going to get a lot of people that are interested in doing Google Hangouts with you. Young people love Google Hangouts. They've used them a lot to communicate in college and to be able to maintain relationships with friends long distance, and they're easy to use. So there's a lot of people that enjoy it, and it's fairly simple to set up, but it's not super professional, and it's not something that I would recommend for business meetings. It does offer video chatting, and it really comes in two flavors. One is the classic Google Hangouts, and then another one is called Google Hangouts Meet, which is more professional, and you do have to pay for it, and it's actually part of a G Suite, which includes additional Google Drive space and email addresses that are Gmail but have your domain name. So it would be like Kimberly at bemorebusiness.com, but it would actually, that would be a Gmail address, but it wouldn't be at gmail.com. So you can do G Suite here. To me, it's still not as professional, even at the professional level, as Zoom or as GoToMeeting. And for me, neither Skype nor Google Hangouts are as fully featured as Zoom or GoToMeeting is. Then there are some instant messenger tools that you really need to be cognizant of right now in your communications, because people are probably using them. FaceTime is one of them. If you have a iOS phone and somebody else has an iOS phone, being able to FaceTime back and forth. And I think there's a Android equivalent of that. I very much live in an Apple world, so sometimes I forget there are other Android devices out on the planet. But FaceTime is a popular way for people to communicate. Facebook Messenger, you can do chats back and forth and share videos and stuff via Facebook Messenger, as well as WhatsApp. So if you are a small business entrepreneur, you need to be aware that people may be reaching out to you right now on Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. So if you're not in a habit of checking where your business Facebook page gets messages, you might want to start making that a habit, because people are reaching out in all kinds of different ways in order to be able to get a hold of people versus being on the phone. And Instagram, as well as other social networks, offer, direct messaging and direct video chatting, or direct and small group video chats as well. So those are not common ways that you might want to set up your remote office, but they might be ways that people approach you to communicate with them as either customers or coworkers communicating back and forth. If anybody has any questions about which tool would be right for them, please go ahead and feel free to type that into the chat area. I'm going to move on and start talking about making your digital office a better space. so that you're more set up to be able to do this kind of work. But if you have a question about, is this platform right for me? Which one would be right in a certain situation? Please feel free to chat that in or just write down your question for when we start into Q&A. So making your digital office a better experience. So now I'm going to talk about technology and space considerations and how to really set up your digital world so that you're better prepared to be able to work in this environment. The first thing I'm going to suggest is lighting. So we are all now thrust into this world where everyone is getting to see us, right? And we probably all are a little bit anxious about maybe everybody getting to see our homes or where we're presenting from. So lighting is definitely helpful. What I warn you, I am a photographer, so I have these as photography lights, but they're called lume cubes, and you can see here in the before and after what a difference that makes. Now I do have a lume cube, and by the way, you can control these with your phone, which is really kind of cool. You can make them brighter or you can make them dimmer. They're not horribly expensive. They're about $50, but they will really help you look better and everything be brighter and more airy when you are doing your presentations online and you're using your computer's camera. So I recommend that if you don't get a lume cube, you can look for lume cube alternatives out there, but I've put lume cube's address on here. So when it comes to lighting, do use a light source that's pointed at you. What you don't want to do is set your computer up so that you have a window behind you. When you do that, it'll end up making you black, and it'll silhouette you so that we can't see your face or your facial features, and because what's behind you will be brighter than you. Your computer does cast a certain amount of light off of the screen. And so if you get a little bit closer to it, it'll give you more even lighting. But getting one of these lights is probably the best thing for you to do. Another thing is they come with these little gel doohickey things that you can stick over the top of them that'll change the color balance of the light. So if you have really harsh, fluorescent lights in your office space where you're working at home, you can choose a skin toned or flesh toned little thing to put over the light, and it'll be more pleasing. It like diffuses it so that it changes that color, so it balances it out for skin tones in those bright light situations. Vice versa, if you have really warm lighting in your home and it ends up looking very brown and muddy on the screen, then you can use a white one and it'll help balance that white balance out. So lighting is an important piece in us feeling confident in being on the computer and doing these face-to-face and video conferencing. So that's a big help, is just to spend a little bit of money on a couple of lights. Sound is another big component that people struggle with. And I see Amanda is good to go. She's got a headset on. She's got her microphone. She's able to hear. I have, and I'll lift it up here, I have a professional microphone that I speak into. I should technically have earbuds in. It's a really good idea to be able to have professionally or at least a headset, especially if you're in a noisy environment. Like if you're in a home full of humans running around doing their thing, it's a really good idea to have that headset on because it really cuts out the ambient noise in the room. It cuts out the noise that's going on all around you. Most microphones and headsets, and including the one that's in front of me right now, are directional, so that when you're talking, it picks up whatever the loudest sound is in the room, and it makes that prominent and drowns the rest of it out. Like the rooster crowing out my window a couple of seconds ago, you guys might not have heard him, but for me, he was super loud, but because I was talking, it picked up my voice and concentrated on it more than it would him making his little warning noise. Funny story. People who come here are like, I thought only roosters crowed in the morning. I'm like, no, they'd crow all day long. they just never shut up. So anyway, when it comes to your sound, use a headset when possible. Buy a webinar or broadcast quality mic or headset. I have something called a Blue Snowball. It's a decent mic. I probably need to upgrade, but it's done well for me for quite a few years. Headsets are better than mics in a noisy environment because they do let you concentrate on that. And if you use your earbuds, it also makes it so that not everyone in the house has to hear what's going on the computer screen. So you get to hear it privately in your ear. It's not disruptive to the people around you. And also there will be some of you that experience problems when you don't have a headset in and you have sound playing from your computer. It can sometimes conflict with things that are going on and even provide feedback, which is really uncomfortable. So those are a couple of reasons why you want to do that. Don't depend on your computer's audio components for really good quality sound for presentations and recordings. It generally gets by, but it's not what you want to do. If this is going to become something that you do a lot, you do want to invest in some better audio equipment to be able to do it long term. I've been producing YouTube videos for over 15 years, and I can tell you that the two things that will stop people from watching a YouTube video and hence staying on one of these meetings is the same concept. That is when they can't stand to watch it because it makes them seasick, or when they can't hear it. And people will actually watch an uncomfortably motiony video if they can hear the audio clearly. So the audio is actually more important than the video component. The presentation piece of things. So if you're attending Zoom meetings and you're attending Zoom webinars, you're not taxing yourself a whole lot and you're not taxing your equipment a whole lot. It's really pretty easy to be able to do. If, however, you're going to be presenting, it's a really good idea to invest, if you're going to do it often, it's a good idea to invest in an additional monitor to go with either your laptop or your desktop computer. And you can hook, if you have an iPad or a tablet, you can actually make that iPad or tablet an additional monitor on like your laptop. The software for presenters, particularly if you're doing like I'm doing a PowerPoint, that it makes it a lot easier if you have a desktop or a laptop computer to do that on, because you have more resources with the machine itself, and then you also have more real estate on your desktop and the ability to have multiple windows open. So it's actually a really good idea to use either your desktop or your laptop to be able to do your hosted presentations from. And I do recommend the additional monitor. There's a little link on here that's from How to Geek that will teach you, if you don't know how to make your iPad a separate monitor, will work for Macs and PCs both. So it can become an additional monitor for both. Monitors are super cheap. You can buy them at acceptable ones on Amazon or at Micro Center in Kansas City for $50, $75. You can get a fairly decent sized one, and they're really easy to hook up multiple monitor setups. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do this a lot, to get two. I use three. I have one that you're watching the presentation on. That's my Mac. And I have two additional monitors. I have one over here to my right that has my presentation and my speaker notes that I hardly ever look at. but it's over here if I need it. And then I have the one over here to my left that you can't see, but I have the attendees. I can watch and see who's logging on and logging off. If I feel like I'm losing people in my presentation, I can speed it up, I can slow it down. And then I also have my Zoom chat where I can see where Amanda asked a question, which I will answer when we're done. And then where Amanda and it says psychos, but I don't think that's how I would say it. But anyway, it's where they have made a comment. So I can see what people are interacting with me about. Again, do look at multiple monitors, employ your iPad, and practice sharing and unsharing your screen before you start doing your presenting. So you need to be able to find those buttons fast and to be able to share smoothly. And that takes a little bit of practice. So make sure you set up some practice times with some friends and get used to, Sue, thank you, Sue. You get used to sharing and unsharing your screen and moving around. Zoom lets you even share from your phone or from your iPad as an additional screen, which is really nice. I'm loving that feature. That's one of the ones that they have above GoToMeeting that I absolutely adore, but that's probably not a use case for everybody. When you are presenting, please don't use the work view of your PowerPoint. I have a love person who I follow and go to a lot of her webinars, and she does this and it drives me crazy. It's the view where you would actually do the editing, and over to the side are all of the slides, and then there's the slide in the middle, and then all she does is just go through the edit view. Try not to do that if you can avoid it, because it just, one, it looks unprofessional, and two, it's really distracting to the people that are viewing the slide. So go ahead and do the full-on slideshow, and that's the perk of having a second monitor, even if it's your iPad, because you can put your speaker notes on one and your actual slides on the other. Okay, and some more random tips here. Adjust your camera so your whole face shows, and kind of so you're in the middle of the frame, so it feels comfortable for people to make eye contact with you on the video. Even though they're not technically making eye contact with you on the video, it feels more secure to us as humans if your whole face shows. So don't let your your computer camera be tilted up so we look at the ceiling, or tilted down so that we look at your desk and only see the top of your head. Remember, eye contact is through the green dot here in front of you, even though we're all set up to look at the other videos and actually to look at ourselves. So most of us talk right to ourselves. That's fine. What I recommend is, if you find yourself really doing that a lot, take the videos and drag them over so they're right underneath your camera. And that way, when you're looking at yourself or the person that you talk to the most in the meeting, put them right under that camera, and then you're pretty close to keep an eye contact with everyone in the group. Clean up your desktop, both on your computer and on your actual desk. So if your desk shows, try to clean that up. Also, look at what's behind you and what's showing in your video. It's really uncomfortable if it's something awkward or something people have a lot of questions about. So try to do that. I actually have a trash can over here, and if it gets full, it'll show in this little corner of my video over here. So I have to be careful to keep my trash emptied before I do a lot of presentations where we can see the videos. Look at what's behind you. Use the virtual background. So Mona has a virtual background. It looks like a couple of other people are using the virtual background feature in Zoom. If you have a computer that can do that, you can upload your own. So it's really nice for you to be able to have that in case you have something you don't want the world to be seeing behind you. You can use facial touch-up on Zoom, which is really cool. All of the virtual background and the touch-up, if you guys want to try those are under the stop video. There's an up arrow next to it. You can click on that, choose your virtual background. You'll have to click the plus sign to upload one. And then also in all of those settings, there will be a place that says touch up my video. And it just simply smooths out your skin tone. So, I mean, I have a pretty good sized zit on my chin, which is unfortunate, but it smooths it right out. So it's kind of, no, because I confessed, right? So use the touch up. Do know how to turn off and on the recording. Another thing that kind of is a bad etiquette practice is to record like all the pre-meeting banter. So get used to hitting the record button and then starting your record from that point when the event actually starts, because the people that are going to come in and watch the recording, if you're going to offer that, they're not going to want to watch a lot of the pre-meeting banter because they can't participate. Do know how to use the breakout rooms in Zoom. So practice that. We've been doing that with Central Exchange, practicing our breakout rooms. And also in Zoom, you can choose to have a waiting room. So when people come to the meeting, they're put into a waiting room and then you admit them into the meeting. Now, this is a really nice feature if you spend all day do, because what happens is if I have back-to-back meetings and my next meeting shows up early or my previous meeting is running over, with GoToMeeting, I only have the choice of not letting them in or of them crashing the meeting. So it's really nice because it feels super awkward when you drop into a virtual meeting room where other people are talking about something. So it's super nice to be able to have that. Make a decision if you want to use it. You can change it in the settings. You can also simulcast live on Facebook or YouTube through a Zoom meeting. So you can set it up so it goes directly to it. Please do not depend on this technology right now. Because Facebook is having a lot of difficulty with lives, and some of your lives are not going to go through. So just be aware. Don't like promise people. I had somebody do that earlier in the week, and Facebook was just clogged up and the live stream to go. Mark asks, where is the waiting room feature? You turn that on and off, Mark, in the settings, and that will be in your Zoom app that's installed. Sorry, not in your Zoom app. It's going to be in the Zoom account information when you log into your Zoom account. You can turn it on and off. Oh, sorry, Bridget. I apologize. All right, so digital meeting and webinar etiquette, how to make this a pleasant experience for all of us. Do mute yourself this is an attendee, so do mute yourself when you're not talking. Close doors around you. Wait to talk. This is an awkward thing for all of us right now, because when we meet face to face, we're able to judge when we can start talking. There's a little momentary delay on video. So it's hard for us. It's a learning curve for us as humans to communicate this way. So try to take a breath before you talk over to somebody. I'm going to admit I'm one of the worst people about talking over people on virtual meetings. I still have not gotten that down. Arrive early to the meetings. Technology takes a bit. It feels like awkward to start a meeting late. You guys, I have to give everyone in this group 2 thumbs up for that. They were right on time or early. And whenever possible, stay until the meeting is over. There may be some great things that are happening. Everybody, if you're hosting a meeting, try to stay within the time period. Don't meet in high traffic areas of your home. I was telling Krista about a lady who was actually in her bedroom, and in a long time ago in a multi-person call, she left and her husband got out of the shower with his towel and was dancing around the bedroom and had no idea that like 12 women were watching him. So, just try to warn everybody in your home that you're on a meeting, that there's a camera that's live, and they may want to be aware of that. Try not to have a lot of other things going on your Wi-Fi during a meeting, because you'll get a more stable signal. And again, make sure you tell your housemates, and don't forget to use the chat for sidebar conversations. with other people who are really in the room with you. When you're hosting, start early. I recommend at least 20 minutes. I start most of my webinars 30 minutes ahead. That way, if we have a technical issue, it's easy to solve. You don't want to do it much more than 30 minutes because then the technology times out sometimes. So right between that 30 or 15 ahead. Give notice way ahead of it in your actions when you're going to ask people to comment or talk. You want to give them plenty of time to be prepared for that. So make sure you remind people frequently during the meeting. If they have questions, type them into the chat area to make sure that you're able to give people enough time to make that turn, right? Give clear guidelines of how you want them to participate. I love in live meetings, I love to visit with all my attendees as they're walking in the room. I get really nosy about, what their business is, what they're interested in, where they are on the topic. And you can do that to a certain extent on these remote meetings. It's a little harder. It feels a little more uncomfortable, but as we keep going, we'll all get more and more used to it. Make sure you answer questions for people, that you have your chat and Q&A open. If you're doing a webinar, you have both. We only have the chat. Make sure you talk to people pretty frequently so that they know you're really seeing them. Don't look down all the time. When you look down, people only see the top of your head. That's never good. Don't forget when you do handouts, and you can pass files to people through these programs, that if you're going to do a handout or do a link, send it out way ahead of when people are going to need it, because it takes people a minute to find it and to open it. So if you're going to have that as part of your presentation, make sure you do it ahead of time, be really clear on when they can find it. And I share a link that's important, I'll share it repeatedly. I'll do like 5 or 6 times, because people will be like, where is that? And if the chat is super active, it'll disappear. Don't forget to, don't end the meeting without giving notice. In other words, don't hit that button, because then people think they all got disconnected, which is not good. And try not to leave, if you're presenting, great voids of silence. We are all socially trained to fill voids of silence. And so we want to get involved in the conversation, and then you go to talk and somebody else is talking over you. So it's kind of awkward. So make sure, if you're the host, don't just stop talking for no reason unless you're expecting people to participate. When it comes to troubleshooting, if you have trouble with your internet connection right now, it's probably just due to the load of the internet connection. But the best things you can do is remove everyone in your home from your Wi-Fi. If that doesn't fix it, try plugging your computer in via the cables to Ethernet direct into your wall outlets. That will actually speed up the connection. Wi-Fi slows things down, so that speeds it up. And then also on your computer, close all non-essential windows and programs. Just the computer receiving and sending emails will sometimes hitch your internet connection. So it's a good idea to shut your mail program down. Also shut off anything else that is clogging up your computer. Make sure you turn your notifications off. And your cell phone, silence this bad boy. So you're not having it interrupt you. Sometimes, and it's sometimes if you have an iPhone, you use Hey a lot, make sure that you turn that off for your meetings, because I've had her interrupt my meetings because I said something that sounded like SIRI. Okay, creative ways to use online meetings. And I'm getting real close to the end here. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to chime in, and then we'll all have an open discussion here in a couple of minutes. So creative ways to use these meetings. Host a networking group. I went to one for Central Exchange. It was a blast. I had so much fun at that. And I got to meet some new people and get to know some people and see some people that I get to see all the time in a whole new light. Client meetings, obviously, coaching, consulting sessions, e-learning. if there's something that you've always wanted to teach people how to do, this is a super platform for you to be able to do that on. Group meetings, it's great. You can break people out into subsections, demonstrations. We were talking with Bridget, I believe, about the real estate, being able to do virtual home shows and talk to customers online. And trust me, you're going to want to do this even after we've been let loose back out into the world to hug and be in groups of each other. It would be nice to be able to continue this from time to time. And also list building. Getting people to come on to an event and talk about your business and learn about it. And then if they want to be more involved, to provide their email information so that you can stay in touch with them long term. There are some options that have just come out within the last year or two that allow you to do fully digital summits with multiple speakers on multiple stages running at the same time, with all kinds of options for handouts and trade shows and expos and everything. So basically an entire summit that you could do, or an entire expo or trade show, all of it on this technology. One of those platforms is called Hopin, Hopin, like the bunny Hopin. So you can take a look at their stuff. If you just go to their website, it'll tell you all about it. But if you are a person in a corporate environment who has been tasked with doing some massive training project right now, and you need to still pull that off, even though you can't do a lot of face-to-face stuff, platforms like that would allow you to be able to do things that you may not have even thought possible with digital stuff. Next week, I have 2 full day online events that I'm going to be going to that are held like that. So it's a brave new world when it comes to these virtual events, but that's one platform that you can utilize. So I did like this. Make sure that when you're having people come into your meetings and when you're doing this virtually, remember this is an opportunity for a branding experience. It's a branding experience for you as an individual, and it's a branding experience for your company. And a brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn it by trying to do hard things. And I realize right now, some of this is hard, but it's going to be really worth it in the end. So thank you guys so much for your time. I want to go ahead and I'm going to stop the presentation and return us back to where we're all looking at each other, and let's have open conversation about what your questions are. So let me stop that share. Hi, everybody. Okay, let me get to the couple of questions that we had so far. So Amanda asked, now that we are working remotely, I'm needing to do some remote training and would like to record the sessions. Do you have a recommendation? So Zoom or GoToMeeting, either one will work just fine for that. And you can record it. And then are you on a Mac or a PC platform, Amanda? You have to unmute yourself to answer. Mac or PC? Here, let me see if I can unmute you.
Oh, I'm in a PC environment.
PC, okay. You probably are going to have a third party, something to be able to do editing with if you wanted to edit it. But the footage that comes off these meetings, I do video editing as well. You can get a video editor and you can put like titles ahead of it. There's even subtitling available inside of Zoom. So if you have people that are disabled and auditorily and need to be able to have subtitles, you can do subtitling and captioning. And some of it can be done automatically, and others of it you can type over it. But you can take those video files, you can add your company logos and stuff in the front and the back and use them as training tools even after this is over. So yes, you can definitely record. You can record to the cloud, you can record to your desktop, you can upload them to platforms like Vimeo or YouTube, and then lock them down privately within those platforms so that only your people can get into them. Did that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay, good deal. If you think of something else, let me know. Okay, Sue says this is exactly the conversation I needed. So good. I'm glad for that. So Sue also says the setup to move my name. Okay, is there a utility or cog for cleaning that on Zoom? So you would want to, you can actually go to your attendees or participants list. So down at the bottom of your screen that says participants, if you click on that, it's going to open up a window that has everybody's name on it. Find your name in that and then click on the more, and it should let you rename yourself. See if you can manage that. There you go. Yay. All right, perfect. Okay, we're the meeting room, waiting room feature. Bridget, I answered that for you. You should be able to find that in your settings. And again, you're going to go to your Zoom account online. So you're going to open up Zoom in a browser, log into your account, and it's going to be there in the settings. And I think she just jumped off. Let's see. I don't think anybody else has any questions. So Mona, you wanted a couple of minutes? You're on.
Raise your hand if you wrote copious notes about all these amazing things that Kim was sharing with us. So Kim, I want to thank you. I've learned, it seems like a year ago, but I think it was just last Tuesday when we started this conversation about Zoom. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with so many of our members and so many of our guests today too. So I also want to let everybody know that we at Central Exchange are hosting one webinar a week at no charge to the world. And the next one is going to be April 2nd at noon. Alex McAnderson is going to be hosting a mindfulness and meditation webinar called How to Overcome Our Current Obstacles, which I think many of us know what that really means. So, and please feel free to take a look at the Central Exchange program calendar. You can find that at centralexchange.org. And then there's a button that says programs. You're absolutely more than welcome to join us. There is a cost for some for non-members, but we, like I said, we want to do some free to the community too. So I think that's all I've got.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you.
Any other?
Michelle asks, what is the HOP platform? What was the HOP platform? It's Hopin, H-O-P-I-N, Hopin, like hopping in on the bunny.
So I encourage anybody to send their comments to Michelle, Michelle. Yeah. Hi, Michelle. I see you there too. Michelle is going to be doing, let's see, is that yours on the 31st? Is that right, Michelle? She's nodding at me right now. So Michelle Markey is with SkillPath, one of our strategic partners at Central Exchange that we're so grateful to have. So she's going to be hosting a workshop from 8 to 9 a.m. on March 31st that you'll find on our calendar too. And then Ray, are you still on? I don't think you are. Oh, there she is. She's hiding over there. So Ray, can I unmute you for just a sec? And then I would love if you would share just real quickly what your workshop is going to be and the date, that'd be great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I believe I have so many webinars coming up that I believe the webinar here is on April 6th.
I should be able to check while we're on the call right now.
So my webinar is about emotional intelligence in the workplace. You know, we're starting to hear this term emotional intelligence, and quite frankly, almost nobody knows what it means. And of course, it means the leadership skills and the ability to motivate and so forth. But actually, it goes to a much deeper level about how our emotions actually affect our physiology and brain function and ability to communicate with each other, reduce stress, and so much more. So I'll be teaching some emotional intelligence science and some emotional intelligence practical application.
Excellent, Ray. Thank you. We're so glad that you're able to do that.
I'm so thrilled to be able to do it.
And Michelle, let's see, since we're shouting out to some of our presenters now, so yours, like I said, is on the, I'm looking at my phone right now, the 31st from 8 to 9, Achieving Emotional Balance. Can you give us a snippet of that?
Yeah, so we had that program. It's one that we've run at SkillPath, but sort of serendipitous in my mind, in that kind of the situation we're in now, emotional balance discussion takes on a new light. So follow the standard curriculum, but I would expect and hope that we'll be able to elaborate on that, because I think that we're all trying to find balance in maybe a new way than maybe we would have a week ago. So it should be an interesting and, I think, really timely webcast.
Excellent. Thank you. We're so grateful for you.
Well, thank you.
And I'm trying to see if anybody else is on. If you're on and you have a program coming up with us, let's see, I'm scanning the names right now. I think I've covered everybody. So with that, we're going to end a couple minutes early. Again, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Take a look at our calendar and we'd be happy to hear from you. So bye, everybody.
Bye.